preparing to live stream. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. We are just getting some things prepared to go live.
Good on my end.
This is what comes up, Sankara. Okay, we're live. Shane, that is your cue.
Okay, fantastic. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome. I know it's bright and early Monday morning. We appreciate you guys all being with us. Happy Juneteenth weekend, and also happy first day of the summer. I know that we are super excited to kick off the summer session with you guys. We're going to give everyone just a few minutes to stream in, and then we'll get right to it. In the meantime, feel free to jump in the chat. We usually use ones to communicate if you guys are with me. So feel free to drop a one in the chat if you're super excited to be here this morning. All right, there we go. We see you guys coming in. Fantastic. And while we're at it, drop in your city. We're going to do a city roll call real quick. Drop in your city and, let's see who's in the building this morning. All right, we got Dallas in the building. We got Houston, New York, Detroit, Austin. I see Las Vegas in the building. I see Charlotte in the building. Fantastic. We got a full house today. Los Angeles in the building. Philly in the building. I'm from Philly. What's up, guys? Welcome. Okay, great. Whether you're joining us live from afrotech.com, YouTube, LinkedIn, or you're an Inside member tuning in, we are glad that you guys are here. Before we get into it, I know that it's literally 10:01, so we're going to give you guys a few minutes, but before we jump into it, we have a few housekeeping notes. The first one is this session is being recorded and will be available as a replay. If you have a question, and I know you will, drop it in the QA box below. You'll see it right in the middle. And we'll get to as many as we can in the back half of our time together. If you're just joining in, right now we're just dropping a quick hello in the chat. Tell us where you're joining from, and also tell us what you're hoping to take away today. I'd love to see who's in the room. We have a lot of folks from Houston in the building. I love to see it. Hopefully we see you guys at the conference in November. Virginia Beach is in the building. We got Courtney coming to her third conference in Houston. I love to see it. All right. Thank you guys all for joining. As I mentioned earlier, I hope everyone had a fantastic Juneteenth weekend. Today is also, the first official start of the summer. And we're really excited to kick this off with the amazing Symoné. Before we jump into it, we're just going to give you guys a quick background on what we'll be discussing today. A few housekeeping notes. Want to let you guys know that this session will be recorded. And if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the Q&A box below, and we'll get to as many as we can. Bear with us 1 second. All right, awesome. So I've been looking forward to this one for a while. If anyone grew up anything like I did, you've probably heard some version of this from your parents, aunties, uncles, somebody at church. They always told me in church, stay in school so you could get you a good government job. Now, when they said that, they probably weren't imagining cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, or radar systems engineering. They were thinking about stability, right? And they were thinking about benefits. They were thinking about a pension. And I know, especially from my Sunday school church leader, she was thinking, baby, get you a job that nobody can take away from you. And honestly, that's the advice that's been passed down through generations in our community. Government careers have historically been one of the strongest pathways to the Black middle class. They created opportunities for home ownership, retirement security, healthcare, and really generational wealth for middle class communities. But what's interesting is how this conversation has evolved. Today, some of the most important technology being built in the world isn't just happening in Silicon Valley. It's happening inside of federal agencies, defense programs, public infrastructure, and the companies that support them. So when we talk about government tech, we're not talking about just filing paperwork in a corporate building, right? We're talking about protecting critical infrastructure. We're talking about national security. So in a lot of ways, GovTech is the modern version of that advice our aunties and uncles were giving us. Same goal, right? Opportunity, stability, and long-term wealth creation. And that's exactly why I'm so excited about today's conversation. We're going to be talking about what's actually happening inside of government technology and how professionals can position themselves to take advantage of one of the biggest career shifts happening right now. Not in a way that leaves you feeling overwhelmed, but hopefully you walk away feeling prepared and having a good sense of what opportunities are available. So with that being said, I'd love to introduce our amazing speaker, Symoné. Symoné has spent more than 15 years supporting some of the most complex and mission critical technology programs across defense, aerospace, and federal agencies. Her expertise spans radar systems engineering, software engineering, and cybersecurity, helping build and validate the technologies that power critical government operations around the world. Her work has taken her across the globe, supporting high-stakes defense programs in Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan, where precision, reliability, and leadership aren't optional, they're essential. But what makes today's conversation especially relevant is that she's also committed to helping others navigate and break into these highly competitive industries. Through GovTech Academy, she's helping professionals better understand the opportunities available in government technology, engineering, and national security careers, and giving them practical strategies to position themselves for success. Her insights have been featured by Business Insider, Afrotech, of course, Clearance Jobs, and Handshake, and she's become a trusted voice on the future of GovTech and engineering careers. Today, she's here to share what it takes to build a successful career in these critical fields, the skills employers are looking for, and how to create opportunities in industries shaping the future. Please welcome founder and GovTech Academy and principal radar systems engineer, Symoné Berry. Let's give him a round of
Thank you.
applause,
Thank
and
you.
I'll hand it over to Symoné.
Thank you. Thank you, Shane. Thank you for the warm introduction. Definitely excited to be here to speak with the Afrotech Insiders and talk about government technology today. And so just like you said, growing up, I heard the same thing as you, right? So I'm from Arlington, Virginia, and I heard the same thing as you as, grow up, get a good government job, work in this field. It's a field that you can work in for the rest of your life, and it can be very stable. I'm sure everybody saw, what happened last year with the rifts that, President Trump had. But there are still a lot of opportunities in this space, right? You can work on the federal government side, you can work on a government contractor side, you can work 1099, or you can even start your own company as well. So I definitely want to talk about those opportunities that you can have inside of the government technology space. So here's the agenda of what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to go over what is government technology, the different type of roles that are in GovTech, what are security clearances, how to get clearances, and the certification roadmap for GovTech careers, and really using this call as a part one for my session that's going to be at the Afrotech conference. So definitely hope to see you all there, this November. So, Shane already gave me a introduction, so I'll just briefly go over my intro very quickly. So, I'm a principal radar system engineer, spent over 15 years working in this industry, and I got into this industry just by getting a certification. I was able to get the CompTIA A plus when I was 16 years old, and then from there, I just continued to move up in my career. I ended up going to college on a basketball scholarship, got a degree in computer science. And then I continued to get internships while I was in school. So when I was 18 years old, I landed my first internship at a bank that supported an intelligence agency. And that's how I was actually able to get my security clearance. So I didn't join the military. I'm not a veteran or anything like that. And then from there, I worked at that bank for about 18 months. And then I got my first internship with the federal government, supporting the United States Air Force. Then I got an internship with Northrop Grumman. And then from there, really I was able to start my career as a full-time professional as an embedded software engineer. And so I have a lot of different experience across the field, starting in help desk and then working up into embedded software engineering, radar system engineering, cybersecurity roles. So I pretty much have seen it all. And so I wanted to share with you today, all of the different ways that you can work in this industry and the opportunities that are here, because a lot of people aren't familiar with these different opportunities. And so GovTech, it powers every federal mission from cybersecurity all the way to space. And then, of course, AI. Everybody sees what's happening with AI right now. There's AI is now a matter of national security. So there's going to be a lot of different changes happening that I don't think people realize. So if people have noticed recently, with Anthropic, the government made Anthropic take down Fable. Fable was one of their AI models, and they made them take this model down. And really, what this is doing is changing everything with the way that we see GovTech and what's happening with AI. It's going to start to change rapidly to where people are going to need security clearances to support AI, and work in the AI field in the United States. So definitely, you definitely want to know how to best position yourself to be able to still work in this field. So, what exactly is GovTech, right? So, GovTech is short for government technology, and this powers every single federal mission from cybersecurity to space exploration. And it's not just one sector. So, there's three major areas. You have civic tech. And this is an area that most people don't really talk about much, but civic tech is more with the VA, so Veteran Affairs, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, some health agencies, GSA, and these are the type of agencies that support the public. So you can think of it as, anything in terms of maybe like hospitals, or even in terms of just being able for us to utilize the IRS and make the IRS more technology focused, right? So civic tech focus on just public government services mostly. And then you have defense tech, and this is where I have spent my entire career is in defense tech. And so defense tech supports the Department of Defense, different military branches. And then you also have the intelligence community as well. And on the intelligence community side, of course, you have NSA. You've got the CIA, FBI, DIA, NGA, all of the different three-letter agencies, right? So this is where all of our intelligence is. And so the work, it spans across all of these different fields, right? So from cybersecurity, cloud infrastructure, AI, ML, networking, there's software development work, system engineering, IT infrastructure, and there's also technical project management as well, which most people don't talk about either. And so the federal government is actually the largest IT customer. A lot of people aren't aware, but the federal government spends over $100 billion per year just on IT. So with that $100 billion, the way that it breaks down, $30 billion is spent on modernizing different government services and upgrading critical infrastructure every single year. 20 billion is spent on just software licenses across different federal departments. So if anybody's in tech sales, there's a federal side of tech sales as well. I've even worked in the federal cybersecurity cybersecurity tech sales side as well. And then 80% of the budget is going towards maintaining different legacy systems. And that's where a lot of people spend their time at. And then, of course, there's websites too. And so with this spending, this money is being spent every single year. So when you combine federal spending, state, local spending all together, it equals $357 billion in technology spending every single year, right? And so this represents 12% of all of the US tech economy. And so the defense budget alone is seeing a lot of increases every single year, with different conflicts happening, AI being a national security matter now. We're going to see a lot of exponential growth in terms of IT spending. And so because of this, there's a lot of opportunity for you to work in this field and really not have to worry about, if things are going to slow down, if there's going to be a lot of layoffs. And like I said at the beginning, what happened with the federal government last year it's not common, right? I think the last time that there were major rifts like that was back in the 90s, right? So it's been a long time since something like that has happened. And on the government contractor side, there were no mass layoffs at all. It was only on the federal government side. And so, with us seeing how large the GovTech spending is, we want to also look at where it's actually headed, right? So the GovTech market, it's not just big, it's exploding. So it's projected to more than double by 2031. And this isn't just about federal dollars. Global GovTech is set to hit over $160 billion. And when it comes to AI in government alone, that alone will reach $115 billion. And so the World Economic Forum, they even called GovTech a $9.8 trillion global opportunity. And federal AI use cases have 4 times over the past 3 years. So there's going to be a lot of demand for this. So what I always recommend to people is to figure out how you can combine AI with the tech skills that you already have, because this is really where the future is headed. So with all of this growth, where is the money exactly going, right? And so with all of this growth that's happening, the federal IT priorities over the next 5 years, where they want to spend most of their money at is with cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is number one. So, AI is not going to be replacing any cybersecurity professionals at all. If anything, it's only going to increase cybersecurity professionals. And just like I talked about at the beginning with Claude Fable, with these AI models getting they're getting better over time. Fable is so good that they didn't want it in the public because it's able to hack into different federal systems. It's able to find different vulnerabilities that haven't been discovered for decades, right? So these AI models are becoming so good that they are a real threat. And so now the government is going to treat it like that. So of course, if you're in cybersecurity, you're going to have a lot of job security for the foreseeable future, honestly. And so the government also wants to modernize old legacy systems, of course, and now is the best time to do it since we're going through this technological revolution. So they want to adopt new innovations like AI, and then every single one of these priorities are for skilled tech professionals, right? And this is not going to be a temporary trend. This is going to be a structural demand that's going to continue to grow for the foreseeable future. And this is causing a massive hiring boom. And so, because this is causing a huge hiring boom, right? Pretty much everywhere that you look at, if you look at the government contractor companies, you will see they are hiring nonstop. There are in-person hiring events that are happening. There are virtual hiring events that are happening. If you look on LinkedIn, you'll see recruiters posting jobs all of the time. So the issue is that there's just a shortage of talent, and if if you position yourself the correct way, you can be somebody that can really thrive in this industry, right? And so with the hiring boom, since there's a talent shortage, it's causing different project delays, and then also some of the projects are getting canceled just because there isn't enough talent. And so tech leaders, they're hiring more aggressive than ever before in any other sector. And so if you look at the job data, it really drives this point home. And so with the hiring boom that's happening, right, we're seeing a lot of different increases just across the board, right? So for cybersecurity roles, these roles, the hiring is up 124%. For AI roles, the hiring is up 163% year over year. And just for the overall job posting, for the overall tech job market, there's 1.1 million jobs across the US market. And there's 20,000 new job postings for just cybersecurity engineers alone. And the unemployment rate across these different tech roles in this field is less than 4%. And since the unemployment rate is so low, they're actually competing for talent. And so that's why, this is probably one of the best opportunities, is because, they're not looking to lay you off. They're not looking to use AI to get rid of people. In GovTech, the way that AI is used to process more data, make things more efficient. It's not used to reduce headcount. That's not typically what it's for. And that's because of the way that this industry works. So like I talked about before, the way that the industry works is, the federal government, if they need any type of work done, what they do is they put out a request for proposals, and they say, hey, let's say even if they want a website built, they say, hey, we're looking to have this website built. Who can create this website for us? And so from there, different prime government contractors, they will then submit bids to make that website for the federal government. And whoever the federal government decides to go with to make that website, they are the ones who are going to complete the work. And so this work that they get, this is going to be a contract that's signed. It's a contractual agreement. They have to say, how many people they need to do the work. They also are going to say what type of professionals they need to do the work. And once that contract is signed, they can't just say a year later, okay, we're going to cut headcount in half because we want to save money. And that's really the main difference between the GovTech space and the commercial tech industry, is that, everything is based off of contracts. And then the government contractor companies, they do most of the technical work. And so the federal spending is set by Congress, right? It's not just based off of, hey, how is the country doing this year, or how is this company doing? It's based off of what Congress wants. And so it's not based off of any, type of market fluctuations. And when it comes to state and local government as well, this is going to be funded on, multi-year budget cycles. So that way you have long-term stability. And with these salary ranges of these roles, on average, these salaries, they range for about $120,000 to $200,000 a year, if we're looking at mid-level. And the salaries are a bit higher because of government security clearances as well. And so we'll first start talking about entry-level roles. So for people that might be entry-level, I know there's people in here that I'm sure that aren't entry-level, and they're senior or mid-level professionals. But first, we're going to look at these entry-level roles on just how to get into this space, right? And so here are the different type of roles that are in GovTech on the entry level side, the easiest ways to get into this industry, where there's a lot of opportunity, and the demand is consistently rising because, like I said, there's a shortage of talent, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So the most entry level is going to be IT support and help desk. And with these roles, of course, this is going to be your basic troubleshooting, customer service roles. You also have data center technician roles that are popping up pretty much everywhere. So, of course, you see AI data centers and cloud data centers, but also the government has, specific cloud servers as well, and just specific storage servers too. And so with those, people need to have clearances. So, there's different roles that are available there. You also have junior system administrator roles that are available too, whether you're on the Windows or Azure side, or it's on the Linux side. There's a lot of different opportunity available. You have network administrator roles as well. And of course, this all comes down to IT infrastructure, right? Without having the actual infrastructure that's needed in place, none of this technology is going to work at all. You also have telecommunication roles, and then mobile device technician roles. And so with these roles, to get into these entry level roles, you do also need certifications too. The certifications are very, very important, and I'll get a little bit deeper into the certifications later. But usually to get started, you're going to need bare minimum the CompTIA Security Plus. And that is because in this space, the CompTIA Security Plus, it allows you to get root or administrative access. In GovTech, we call it a privileged user access. So if you want full access to government systems, you have to have the Security Plus. Again, that's a contractual requirement. And across different contracts, you'll see different requirements for certifications, sometimes for years of experience. Sometimes you'll have degree requirements, but they often do degree waivers in this space as well. And so here's some of the frontline roles that you'll see when it comes to cybersecurity, right? And so, of course, you have a lot of different cybersecurity roles that are in demand, and these are the fastest growing roles. So, like I said, on the operations and defense side, you have SOC analyst, cyber analyst roles. You have different vulnerability analyst roles, threat hunter roles. For the risk and compliance side, I know a lot of people are interested in GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. There are GRC analysts and GRC engineer roles, security control assessor roles, ISO roles, which is information system security officer. And this is more of an entry level role on the GovTech side compared to the commercial tech side. There's something inside of GovTech called ATO, which is authority to operate. So every single system, technology system that needs to be operated, needs to be fielded, has to go through an ATO process. And basically what this is a cybersecurity auditing process, making sure that this system that is going to be used in the field is it's secure, it meets all of the government standards, there's no vulnerabilities, make sure that it's stigged. So, all of these different things that it has to go through. And so since all of these systems have to go through the ATO process, there's a lot of need for ISOs. And so these ISOs are the ones who they do most of the work for the ATO process. And so that's why it's mostly kind of like entry level, because again, they just can't find enough ISOs to keep up with how many systems need to go through this ATO process. So, if you get your Security Plus and your CompTIA CYSA Plus, that could be a good way to getting into ISO roles. But I always tell people that you do need some technical experience usually to go into cybersecurity as well. So if you don't have any, you can start with some of the IT roles I talked about previously. And then you have different engineering roles too that are available. And so, of course, this is going to be the backbone of cybersecurity when it comes to GovTech. And so beyond cybersecurity and cybersecurity infrastructure and different engineering role, there's other roles that are definitely critical as well to GovTech. And so these are for the builders, the architects who keep the government systems running and modernizing legacy tech. So you're often going to work with specialized systems and specialized technology or platforms. So I'm not sure if people are familiar with AWS GovCloud or Azure Government, but these are specific cloud platforms only for the government. And so they also are now coming out with specific AI platforms only for the government as well. So these are going to be, different platforms and different roles. So this will allow you to move into different kind of roles, whether you want to get into cloud engineering or, infrastructure engineering, platform engineer roles. For the software engineers who have computer science backgrounds or software backgrounds, they're definitely looking for a lot of software engineers, and then embedded software engineers as well. So a lot of GovTech is through different embedded systems. So whether it's like satellites or different radar systems, or whether it's ships, all different types of systems. With that, you need embedded software engineers to be able to control these different systems, control and command them. And then also, like I had talked about before as well, for the delivery of these mission critical systems, we need to have technical project managers, because the technical project managers are the people who are going to make sure that the work gets done correctly, on time and on budget. And so when it comes to GovTech, and even with these project management roles, you need to have certifications as well. And so in this space, the PMP certification is the the certification that's going to be required. And so this PMP stands for Project Management Professional. And so this certification is going to be a requirement. You know, you're not going to be able to work in this space without it typically, because again, it's going to be on the different contracts, right? So the federal contracts, they're going to explicitly mandate that project managers hold an active PMP to be able to bill hours to the government. And so this is what is the key differentiator when it comes to GovTech, right? This is something that you need to prioritize. You need to prioritize your certifications. And then of course you need to prioritize, you know, your experience as well. But there's also another hurdle that you'll have to go through when it comes to getting into this space too, which is going to be security clearances, right? And so security clearances are the golden ticket to when it comes to working in GovTech. And even if you don't have you know, a security clearance, if you don't have a military background, you definitely can get one. A lot of people think that it's not possible to get a security clearance unless you join the military. And it's just not true. Companies hire and they sponsor security clearances pretty much every day. And almost every company sponsors a clearance. Depending on how bad they want you, they will sponsor you for clearances. And so for you to find these roles that are sponsoring security clearances, what you're going to do is go on you can go directly to government contractor websites, or you can go on to clearancejobs.com. And what you'll do is search the phrase ability to obtain. And with this phrase, you'll be able to find different roles that are sponsoring clearances. And so the different types of clearances that you can get, you have a public trust. Public trust is not really a clearance. It's more of a background check, but it's needed for civic tech. So with a public trust, it only takes a couple of weeks for you to get this certification. You can be a U.S. citizen or a green card holder to be able to get a public trust and get into civic tech. So if you aren't a U.S. citizen, but you're a green card holder, definitely take a look at you know, public trust roles and civic tech roles for sure. And then when you get to the first level of clearances, you're looking at a secret level clearance. And so the secret level clearance, this is the lowest level clearance that you can get. And this will give you access to classified information. Typically for these secrets, you know, things are moving a bit faster now, but it typically takes about 1 to 3 months to get a secret clearance. And there's also top secret clearances as well. And with these top secret clearances, these take 6 to 12 months to get. And there's also another level on top of that too. I'm not sure if people are familiar with polygraphs, but there is a level of clearances that you need to actually sit down and take a polygraph, which is a lie detector test to get that. And so there's CI poly, which is counterintelligence poly, and then there's also a full scope lifestyle polygraph as well. And so if you want to work for any of the intelligence agencies, right, CIA, NSA, DIA, FBI, you know, NGA, all of those, DISA, you will need to get, you know, a full scope lifestyle polygraph. And it could definitely, you know, be a challenge. You don't have to go that high if you don't want to. I'll be completely honest, you know, with the secret clearance, you can work in a lot of different roles. You can, you know, make great money and you'll have a lot of job security as well, right? And so here is the civilian path to getting a clearance and getting your clearance sponsored, right? And so like I was telling you about before, right, the ability to obtain, this is the phrase that you're going to be looking for when it comes to getting your security clearances, right? And so the golden rule when it comes to clearances is that you can't buy a clearance, right? You can't apply for a clearance on your own. You must be sponsored by a company. So what you'll do is you'll go through a process to get sponsored for this clearance. And so let's say you go and apply for you apply for a role at a company that's sponsoring for a clearance. The way that the process works is you will put in your application, you go through the interview process as normal, and once you start working the job, they will then put you through the clearance process. And so typically in this space, your employment is contingent upon you being able to get sponsored for a clearance, so successfully obtaining the clearance. And so you'll go through the clearance process. You'll fill out a form. They want to know about, you know, where you've lived at. They want to know about where you've traveled to, where you've worked at. These are all things that the government already knows. They also want to know, any type of foreign contacts that you have. They want to know any type of drug uses that you have. They also want to know about your finances as well. They're more so looking to see if you're somebody who will be like a financial liability to the government. Are you somebody who, maybe you have, too much debt, like maybe $200,000 worth of personal debt, or too many things in collections, right? And these are all things that can be fixed, but they don't want to see you as a financial liability. And then also they also ask about any type of felonies or misdemeanors and things like that. And it's all case by case, right? So I do know people who have clearances that do have felonies, but it's case by case. So just always keep that in mind. And just understand that, it's a process and it takes some time. But once you do get sponsored for your clearance, this is something that you'll be able to have, and use throughout the rest of your career. And so with your clearance, the secret clearance lasts for 5 years. Secret clearance lasts for 10 years, and top secret lasts for 5 years. And so you'll go through a renewal process while you're, working in your role. And so the main thing that you want to know when it comes to working in this industry is that, you're going to make a full lifestyle change. You have to commit to the lifestyle. You can still have fun. If people follow me on Instagram, you could see I travel the world. I have fun. I live overseas right now. So, you can do all different types of things in this career, but you just got to make sure that you're just going to stay on the straight and narrow pretty much. And of course, like I said before, to get sponsored for a security clearance, you do need to be a U.S. citizen if you want to get a secret or a top secret clearance. So that's something that you need to know. And so again, if you go on to job boards like Clearance Jobs, or if you go directly to government contractor websites, just search the phrase ability to obtain, and you will see all of the roles that are sponsoring clearances. And so with these clearances, right, the company is making an investment in you. So typically, once you get your clearance, they don't want you to do anything to lose it. And so, once you get your clearance and you combine that with your technical skills, you are going to be in very high demand, because there aren't a lot of people that have the technical skills and have clearances as well. And so you get your clearance, you get the skills, you get the right certifications. That's going to unlock a lot of doors for you. And another thing is too is that people that have higher level clearances, they have even more leverage, right? So I've been seeing roles being posted recently. Leidos, they posted a role recently. It was actually four different positions. I don't know how many total roles, but they had a $75,000 sign-on bonus for people that had full scope polygraph clearances. And this was happening in College Park, Maryland, right? So in the DMV, very, very competitive to be able to get people that have clearances to want to leave their company, but not only in the DMV, but also all around the world. So whether you're in the States or overseas, there's a lot of job opportunities. And there's other places that you can get hired that people don't think about either, like Huntsville, Alabama. I know some people in here might be thinking like, oh, I don't want to move to Alabama, but Huntsville, Alabama, from what I'm told, has the most engineers in the world. So it's very in the United States, excuse me, but it's very different than what people think, right? Pretty much every government contractor company is there. A lot of different government agencies, a lot of startups are there as well. Then you also have roles available in Colorado. There's roles in Texas. There's roles in California, New York, the Boston area, Florida, of course, Washington, right? There's roles all over the U.S. and then all over the world. So you have a lot of different job opportunities. And so, like I was telling you about earlier, about how, you have different requirements to be able to actually get full access to these government systems. You need to get your CompTIA Security Plus certification. And so, when you get your CompTIA Security Plus, this is going to give you root or administrative access. And this is based off of the DoD 8140. It used to be called the 8570. So there's a full baseline of like different certifications. And then I have free resources where you can look up all these different certifications and all these different things. I'll share the link at the end. And so we'll talk about the strategic path to maximizing your earning potential in the GovTech space. And so, like I said, if you're in cybersecurity, right, or if you want to get into cybersecurity, Security Plus is what's going to help you get your foot in the door in IT. If you don't have any experience yet, once you get some experience, you pair your Security Plus with the CompTIA CYSA Plus. And then from there, once you get even more experience, you want to go after the CISSP certification. This is a senior level certification. This will allow you to work different cybersecurity management roles. And the CISSP certification paired with the security clearance, definitely gives you a lot of job securities and earning potential as well. And then on the cloud and infrastructure side, the CCNA certification and the Security Plus, that'll help you get you going on the infrastructure side, whether you want to do networking and cloud. There's also more, you can get more specialized as well. If you wanted to focus on system administration, you can get Azure system administrator certs. There's also Red Hat system administrator certs as well. Red Hat is used heavily in the government space. So Red Hat is a distribution type of Linux, and it's the only thing that's pretty much used in the GovTech space. There's other, you might work on some programs that don't use Red Hat. That's just because they might have something specific to their program, but generally most people or most programs are going to be using Red Hat. And then, of course, you have different cloud security certifications that you can get as well, like the CCSP. And then if you're on the tech management side, you have the CAPM or Project Plus. Those don't hold as much weight. You're really going to really need to get that PMP certification. The ITIL V4 is going to be something that can help for business analyst roles. And then the CISM and the CISM certification can help with management as well. It's a good mix in between project management and cybersecurity. So if you're interested in combining both cyber and project management skills, the CISM certification is great too. And so here are the different giants inside of, GovTech, the different companies that you can expect to see, right? So you've got, the defense primes like Lockheed Martin, right? Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, Boeing, L3 Harris. I'm sure people have seen these companies before. I'm sure some people in here probably work for some of these companies, right? These companies, they employ a lot of people, right? Some of these, prime government contractor companies, they have over 100,000 employees all over the world. And then you have your different system integrators as well, like Booz Allen Hamilton, Leidos, SAIC, you've got CACI, there's Mantech, Peraton, General Dynamics, right? All of these companies are hiring nonstop right now. Literally, if you just go look on their website, you just start looking for recruiters on LinkedIn, type in the name of the company and put recruiter on LinkedIn, and you will see all of these recruiters posting jobs every day. And then there's also big tech companies that support the government as well, right? So AWS has cleared roles. They sponsor clearances. They also even give a huge yearly bonus as well. So if you get the full scope polygraph clearance, AWS gives a $60,000 yearly bonus. If you have a top secret clearance, I believe they give a $25,000 yearly bonus. Microsoft, of course, they've got Azure Gov. You have Google that supports the government as well, Google Public Sector, Oracle, IBM, Cisco. Also, the AI companies are starting to support the government. So OpenAI. You also have Anthropic, of course. I think they're being forced to support the government. I don't think they really want to, but they're reinforced. And then also you have, new VC-backed defense tech companies, and these are kind of considered like neo defense tech companies. So Anduril, they are probably one of the top companies to work at right now. Anduril is building different autonomous AI systems. They're pretty much reshaping the defense tech landscape. You also have Shield AI as well, which is an AI pilot for aircrafts, so some unmanned systems. You've got Palantir as well, which is pretty much an AI platform. I think pretty much everybody in here probably knows about Palantir, but it's a data analytics AI platform. They pretty much ingest data from wherever Palantir is installed at, and then they're able to create different AI insights based off of that data. And then you got Rebellion Defense, which is AI for national security, right? And so these type of companies, they pay Silicon Valley wages and salaries. They also give shares. They give company shares. They give good bonuses. A lot of them have unlimited PTO, and they're hiring nonstop as well, right? They're constantly looking for new talent, and people aren't even looking at these companies. They're definitely overlooking these companies a lot. And so if you see these companies, at Afrotech, definitely make sure you go up to them. I think Anduril was supposed to come last year, but they didn't come. Maybe they'll come this year. Um, and then what you want to do from here, right? Once you're at Afrotech, you have a huge advantage, right? You're going to be right in front of these different recruiters. Take full advantage of being in front of these recruiters, right? Network with them, get their information, because if you network with them and get their information, it's going to help you land one of these jobs, of course. And then even for people that maybe want to do 1099 work, or they're starting their own government contracts, in this field, relationships are everything, right? So meeting people in person, growing your network, building those connections, very, very important, right? And so Afrotech partners with a lot of these companies that I talked about here in the presentation today. So, like I said, before you go to the conference, look to see what companies are coming. Go and talk to them, because they're definitely hiring, right? And so, go to the Afrotech job board that they have. Go out, in person to the conference. And so when you go to the booths, you want to be very strategic about how you talk to them. Talk about the certifications that you have, your experience that you have, that actually align to what they're looking for. And so when you combine those skills in your search, that's what's going to create a lot of opportunity in this space. And like I said before, right? Employers, they're extremely desperate. They need talent, so they're sponsoring clearances. They're looking for people just like you all, people with the technical expertise. And maybe you just don't have the clearance yet, but every company's not going to say yes, we'll sponsor you, but there are companies out there. And so companies right now, they're tripling and quadrupling their hiring. And so right now is like the perfect opportunity. You have a new technology that's happening, completely coming through. AI is a new technology revolution. And there's just so much work that needs to be done. It's definitely the best place for you to be at, right? So these are all going to be mission critical roles. And so when I say mission critical, this means that you're going to be working these roles no matter what's happening in the world, right? Like the federal government can be shut down. If you work for a government contractor company on a mission critical program, you're still going to be working. You're still going to get paid. On the federal government side, of course, right? If the federal government shut down, you wouldn't be working, you wouldn't be paid. But federal government shutdowns don't happen all the time. They're not that common. What happened last year was just kind of like, one off. And so, now that you've seen what the massive demand is when it comes to, working in this space, right? Let's talk about your personal action plan, so that way you can actually take advantage of this opportunity. So, I don't want you to just understand the market, but actually make the right moves, so that way you can land one of these roles. And so, one of the first things that you're going to need to do is optimizing your resume and your LinkedIn profile to be able to show, the certifications that you have that recruiters are actually looking for. Some people also put like that they're clearance eligible on their LinkedIn as well. And, you want to make sure that you're starting to tailor your resume to the way that the government contractor and federal government, is looking for resumes. And the federal government also has a new rule as well, that for if you apply for roles on USA Jobs with the federal government, that your resume can't be any longer than 2 pages. If you're applying for government contractor companies, they don't really have that rule. I know my resume is 3 pages. That's fine. So, just always keep that in mind, right? So, make sure you just start executing on this plan, right? Optimize your LinkedIn. Change your search strategy to only focusing on these roles. If you only focus on these roles, if this is the industry that you want to work in, these are the opportunities that'll start to come up for you. And then you can execute this at Afrotech as well. And like I said, they have a job board too, you can start taking advantage of. And so your toolkit for breaking into GovTech, right? For job hunting, you want to use clearancejobs.com, or you can go directly to the government contractor websites, right? And if you don't know all the government contractors, you can literally just Google top 100 government contractor companies and you'll see. But there are thousands and thousands and thousands of government contractor companies out there, and most of them post on clearance jobs. You also have usajobs.gov if you want to go and work for the federal government or intelligence agencies. Some intelligence agencies post on their own career site as well. So you might have to go directly to those sites. And then, of course, you've got the Afrotech job board, right? And when it comes to certifications, you can study using different resources. Professor Messer is completely free on YouTube. You've got Cybrary for any type of cybersecurity learning that you need to do or you're looking at doing. And then if you're in the federal government or military already, you have Fed VTE with free resources for you to be able to study and practice for different certifications. And then on the networking side, of course, start using LinkedIn. Like I said, start looking at these different recruiters and looking at their pages, connect with them, follow them, and let them know what your goals are and what you're planning on doing. And then you can join local chapters in your area as well, right? So local cybersecurity chapters. If you're in project management, you can join different project management chapters. Whether it's ISACA or whatever it may be, B-side cybersecurity, a lot of different things. You just want to make sure that you're putting yourself out there. And then of course, if there's any type of in-person events in your area, make sure you attend those as well. But yeah, we covered a lot of information today. Went over everything. We're going to open up some time for some Q&A here too as well. But like I said, there's a lot of opportunity in this space, and this is just really like part one of my presentation. I'm definitely going to go much deeper during the Afrotech conference and what I'm going to talk about. Just wanted to make sure everybody understands and has a full understanding of this industry. But if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I also have a lot of free resources as well. I made a free resource hub. It has 11 different free resources on there. And the link is go.symonebtech.com. And it's got all different types of resources from the certifications, from a LinkedIn checklist. I also did different type of certifications for certain paths. It's 11 different resources. So you can go in there, check them out, see what they are. So that way you can, do better on making your transition into GovTech or even moving up in your career.
All right, amazing. Simone, thank you so much. Give it up for Symoné Berry, y'all. Drop a one in the chat if you learned something today. Simone, you gave us so much to work with. And I think the main takeaway here is there's so much opportunity still available in the market. I know when we talk about the jobs market, a lot of the news is bleak, right? With the changes in AI, we don't get a lot of good news or areas of opportunity. But as you can tell from this session, there's so much opportunity available if you know exactly where to look. And hopefully this gives everyone some tools and ideas on where they want to research more or even pivot into. So I want to, start with a few questions that I saw come in. Mostly a lot of the questions that we have in the Q&A so far are around certification. So let's pivot there really quickly. You mentioned
Okay.
that the CompTIA is a great entry point for certifications. What do people need to know about that process when it comes to pursuing those certifications that they may take for granted before starting their journey?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like when it comes to these different certifications, right? Of course, you want to try to be as prepared as possible when you take the certs. But also another thing that I want people to understand too is I typically don't recommend people to get more than maybe two certifications before you actually land a role because these companies, they will pay for your certifications, right? They'll pay for your certifications, they'll pay for your degrees. So you don't really want to have to come out of pocket too much trying to go out and get, 5 or 10 certs. Just get two maybe core certifications that fit your path that you're looking for. And like I said, I have a free resource hub that breaks down the certifications that you can get based off of the tech career that you work in or you want to work in and you want to get into GovTech. So
And that's amazing. We have a few questions directly from the audience I'd like to share with you really quickly.
Mhm.
One attendee asked, if you have a secret clearance, but a job only requires a public trust, will you lose the secret clearance after 10 years still? Would you be able to request that that job renew your secret clearance even if they're not using it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, the way that it works is like, let's say you stay with that company for 10 years or that agency for 10 years. At that time, when you need to renew, if they don't hold the clearance, right, you can ask them to see if they will hold your secret clearance. But it sounds like you're either working on a civic tech project or maybe you're with the civic tech agency. If they just don't hold secret clearances, your clearance is going to lapse. But now there is something called continuous evaluation. And so technically clearances don't really expire anymore. They kind of just go into inactive state and then you would have to renew it. My recommendation is like if you don't want to lose a level of clearance, I would definitely say get a job on a program or at a company that's going to actually utilize and hold that clearance because it's just going to be harder for you to go through the process if you go 10 years and then it lapses.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's great feedback. Another question that just came in addition to cybersecurity, cloud, infra, do you recommend pursuing any AI certifications given the rapid integration of AI in federal government? For example, the Claude Certified Architect Foundations.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a lot of different certs coming out. Like Claude has their certs coming out. I'll say this, right? Like the Claude certifications definitely aren't going to be recognized by any job in the GovTech space. What I will say is that what I have seen is on the Microsoft Azure side, they have come out with a lot of different certifications, AI certs, and those AI certifications are being recognized. So like the AI security engineer certification is being recognized. I think it really just depends on the vendor, right? Cisco is coming out with AI certifications. I haven't seen them on any job postings yet, but I would say if you stick to the main, more popular vendors that the government, recognizes, like ISACA, um, EC Council, CompTIA, Azure, Microsoft Azure, AWS, right? Stick to the main ones. You should be good. SANS as well. Stick to the main big companies. You should be good there.
Fantastic. Uh, we have a question from a founder. A lot of our audience aren't just looking for jobs, they're also
Yeah.
founders, consultants, small business owners. What opportunities are there for small businesses to participate in the GovTech ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. So, with all of the opportunity that's out here, right? Like I said, the federal government spends $100 billion every year on just IT, but that's just the federal government. You still have state and local government as well. So if you are a founder and you want to work with the federal, state, or local government, you can go on to their different websites that they have where they post different contract opportunities and then you can bid on those different contracts. And if you win the contract, you can then support the government in that way. So that would be the step for the founders that want to actually, start their own government contractor company, start bidding on contracts, and start actually winning these large contracts and, supporting the government in that type of fashion. If you are a founder and you aren't set up to be able to bid on contracts yet, you are going to have to go through that process. So of course you need an LLC. You're going to need what's called a UEI number. It used to be DUNS. You're going to also need what's called a cage code number. You also need to know your NAICS code as well. And then you need to go through the process going to sam.gov. That's for federal government. You can also look at US spending or usaspending.gov and look and see, where the money's going, where the contracts are going to. And then for your local and state government, they're going to have their own websites where they post different opportunities that you can bid on.
Amazing. And we have time for one more question. I have two questions that are similar, so I'll have someone combine them. And it's really about traveling overseas. We have one person that's also from Curacao, the Caribbean islands, and they just want to understand, what is that process like about traveling and working overseas?
Yeah, so I mean, with the overseas process, so the way that it works is that you do have to be a U.S. citizen because you have to get sponsored for a security clearance if you're going to be working in the GovTech space and like living and working overseas on different programs. And so I see a couple of people saying like if they live overseas, so there wouldn't be remote roles. Like if you're in the GovTech space, you would not be working overseas and doing like remote work. You would be doing work in person at those sites. And pretty much the way that it works is same way, any other job, you would apply for the job. You can look on clearance jobs or directly on the government contractor sites. If you search the word overseas, or if you even search the word OCONUS, and that's OCONUS. If you search OCONUS, that stands for outside of the continental US, you'll start to see all the different programs and job opportunities that are overseas. And so from there, you'll see different, opportunities. So sometimes it's short term, right? Sometimes it might be, hey, you're going to go for 3 months and then come back for a month and you do rotational. Sometimes it's 12 months. Sometimes it's 2 years, right? Sometimes it's short term, right? There's some programs or that you'll work on where you live and work in the States, but you go overseas for maybe 30 days to support the program overseas. So that's how it works, but there's a lot of different ways to the overseas side as well. Maybe I could talk more about it at the conference.
And that's a fantastic transition, Simone, to the conference. First of all, on behalf of the entire Afrotech Insider community, thank you for showing up. This is the type of the conversation that the community needs right now. We need some optimism. We need some energy, and you gave us so much to work with. And I hope people leave here feeling inspired and get that push to go after something new or something that they would really want. If you are an Afrotech insider already, this is what your membership looks like. We do this content every month because we want to make sure that you understand the full ecosystem and everything that's available to you. This is why we're doing sessions like this. And if you're watching today and you're not a member yet, I hope this kind of gave you an idea of what the membership could look like. Every month, insider members get access to sessions exactly like this one, expert practitioners, real frameworks. The link is available if anyone is able to join the QR code. And if this resonated with you today, we hope you consider joining us for the next one. So, that is a wrap for today's session. I'm Shane Bernard. Thank you for being here. And, we hope to see you at the next one. So enjoy the rest of your Monday, guys. And thank you for joining.